You've got to be kidding me, Ahmad. Do you really think that Ishmael is part of the covenant God made with Abraham? I mean, sure, God did say he'd make him a great nation, but that doesn't mean he gave him the covenant, does it? It's clear from Genesis 17:21 that the covenant was made through Isaac, not Ishmael. What's all these desperation to force Ishmael into the covenant God made with Abraham?
Oh, come on, John. You Christians always find a way to twist things. You refuse to acknowledge that Ishmael was included. This is because Shaitan is amongst you. Genesis 17:20 says, "As for Ishmael, I have heard you, I will surely bless him. I will make him into a great nation." That sounds like God is taking him seriously to me. He was part of the promise too. You don't think?
Well, if you read carefully, Ahmad, you'd see that God is saying he'll bless him, sure, but the covenant, the one where God says he will establish a nation forever, is made with Isaac. Genesis 17:21 makes it crystal clear. "But my covenant I will establish with Isaac, whom Sarah will bear to you by this time next year." God's plan was always through Isaac.
You Christians just can't give credit where it's due. You're basically denying that Ishmael is even part of the family. Genesis 17:10 says, "This is my covenant with you and your descendants after you, the covenant you are to keep, every male among you shall be circumcised." You are so blinded by hatred towards Islam. Ishmael was circumcised. He's part of that promise, John. You just can't accept it.
Ah, I see. So, just because Ishmael was circumcised, that means he's automatically part of the covenant. Please. God didn't make a covenant with Ishmael. Even slaves bought by Abraham were circumcised too, but yet no covenant made with them as well. Circumcision was a sign of the covenant God made with Abraham. It's not a sign of Ishmael's inclusion in a special covenant. Do you remember Genesis 17:19? It says, "But God said, your wife Sarah will bear you a son, and you will call him Isaac. I will establish my covenant with him as an everlasting covenant for his descendants after him." Ishmael wasn't the one God was focusing on.
You're so narrow-minded, John. You are such an idiot. You're refusing to see the bigger picture. Ishmael's descendants went on to form the Arab nations, and through him, Muhammad came. You can't ignore that. Islam became a great nation just like God promised. How do you explain that?
Oh, please, Ahmad. Just because Muhammad came from Ishmael's line doesn't mean God's covenant with Abraham passed through him. The covenant was always intended for Isaac's descendants. Exodus 3:6 is clear on this. God says to Moses, "I am the God of your father, the God of Abraham, the God of Isaac and the God of Jacob." Notice how he mentions Isaac but leaves Ishmael out of the picture. That's because the covenant was passed down through Isaac's line, not Ishmael's. Ahmad, it's not about hating Ishmael, it's just about recognizing where God placed his covenant. Thought so. The truth can be hard to swallow sometimes.
Yeah, whatever. I'm done. You will go to my Islamic version of hell for going against Islam and my Allah.
Yeah, I figured. Please remember. Without lies, Islam dies.